The silent fear of memory loss can end faster than you think, and today you're going to discover how. Stay with me until the end, and you'll learn to shield your mind. Have you ever found yourself standing in a room, staring, with no idea why you walked in there? Have you felt that pang in your chest when you forget a close friend's name, or where you put the keys that were just in your hand minutes ago? For many, these are just common distractions, but after 50, 60, 70 years old, these small memory lapses start to take on a different weight. They begin to carry a silent but deep fear, the fear of losing your mind, the fear that one day, forgetting something simple will turn into forgetting who we are. It's at this point that many start to ask themselves, am I starting to get sick? Is this normal, or the beginning of something more serious? Doubt sets in, and with it, anxiety. The truth is, memory isn't just a brain function. It's part of who we are. When memory starts to fail, we feel like our identity is also slipping through our fingers. And losing that, for someone who fought their whole life to build who they are, can be scarier than any physical illness. But there is real hope, and it starts with the right knowledge. Not all is lost. Quite the opposite. The human brain, even as years go by, has an incredible ability to adapt, renew and protect itself. And there are proven ways to strengthen your mind, preserve memory, and even rejuvenate your mental vitality. These are simple pillars, often overlooked, that can completely change the course of your story. The first pillar is what you put on your plate. Few people imagine it, but what you eat can be shaping or destroying your ability to remember. Science has made it clear, diet is one of the biggest factors determining brain health. And this goes far beyond just avoiding sugar or eating fruit. It's about understanding that your kitchen can, in fact, be your first pharmacy. Imagine a powerful food, forgotten by many doctors, but revered in various parts of the world for its direct effect on memory: extra virgin olive oil. This golden liquid is rich in polyphenols and good fats, which reduce inflammation and protect neurons against wear and tear. It's as if it lubricates your mind's circuits, keeping connections fast, clear, and efficient. Just 1 tablespoon a day can have a gigantic effect over the years, and it's not alone. Blueberries, small dark fruits, concentrate antioxidants that cross barriers in the brain and act directly on neurons. Walnuts offer omega-3, vitamin E, and minerals that reinforce brain health like a fortress. And cold water fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, provide DHA and EPA, essential components for communication between brain cells. Together, these foods not only nourish your body, but build a resilient, youthful, and sharp brain. Taking care of your memory starts on your plate, but your plate can also hide silent poisons. Just as food can heal, it can also destroy, and often the attack is sneaky. It comes disguised as quick pleasure, packaged with catchy slogans and vibrant colors. It's on supermarket shelves and in harmless daily snacks. Refined sugar, for example, seems harmless, but in the brain it acts like a saboteur. It causes chronic inflammation, reduces insulin sensitivity, and directly affects neurons' ability to communicate. Over time, this process can mimic the effects of a type of Alzheimer's. Many scientists even call this type 3 diabetes. Then we have trans fats, present in margarine, fried foods, and ultra-processed foods. They accumulate in brain cells, altering their structure and blocking essential connections. It's like putting sand in delicate gears. And finally, ultra-processed foods themselves, filled cookies, sodas, ready-to-eat meals. All of them are a toxic cocktail of preservatives, chemical additives, excessive salt, and bad fats. They not only harm the body, they steal the mind's energy, cloud clarity, drain focus, and diminish brain vitality. The truth is straightforward. If you want to protect your memory, you need to make choices. You need to have the courage to abandon habits that sabotage your future. And know that every small choice in the kitchen, every ingredient, every dish, is an opportunity to preserve your autonomy, your intelligence, and your essence. These invisible habits might be sabotaging your memory. You might be doing everything right, eating healthy foods, avoiding villains, following advice, and still feeling slow, confused, disconnected. And this might have a simple but often ignored explanation: the water you're not drinking. It seems trivial, but the truth is, Your brain is composed of about 75% water, and even mild dehydration is enough to compromise your ability to focus. Short-term memory and mental agility, the confusion that seems like tiredness, the lapses that seem like aging, often they're just a silent plea from your body for hydration. And the worst part? In old age, the natural thirst mechanism weakens, meaning you might need water even without feeling thirsty. Carrying a bottle and drinking small amounts throughout the day isn't just a random gesture, it's a silent ritual of self-preservation. Water is the fluid that moves nutrients, protects synapses, and literally keeps the brain awake. When it's lacking, even your ability to dream decreases. Good memory starts with a sip. But there's another, less talked about, more controversial habit that, when properly guided, has surprised scientists and patients: intermittent fasting. Forget the idea of starving yourself. Intermittent fasting is an ancient strategy, used in various cultures and now backed by modern evidence. It involves alternating periods of eating with periods of fasting. And during this rest time, your body activates a process called autophagy, a cellular cleanup, a kind of internal cleansing that removes accumulated debris, renews damaged structures, and improves cell efficiency, including in the brain. During fasting, there's a natural increase in the production of a protein called BDNF, neuron fertilizer. It promotes the growth of new connections, strengthens synapses, and aids in learning and memory. And perhaps most impressively, it helps reduce chronic inflammatory processes linked to Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases. It's as if, for a few hours without food, you give your mind a beneficial reset. But pay attention, this type of practice needs to be well guided. Each organism responds uniquely, and it's essential to have the support of a healthcare professional before starting any protocol. The good news? You can start with simple steps, extending the time a bit between dinner and breakfast, or avoiding unnecessary late-night snacks. These are small changes that, combined with good nutrition and hydration, form a powerful tripod: nutrition, protection, and brain regeneration. And believe me, the effect of all this over weeks and months is visible. More energy, more clarity, more presence in the now. Your brain is like a muscle. Either you use it or it weakens. For a long time, it was believed that the brain aged like a slow, rusty machine with no chance of repair. But today we know that this is far from the truth. The brain, even in old age, has an impressive ability to adapt, learn, and create new connections. This is called neuroplasticity, and it can be stimulated every day with simple practices that fit even in a bank line or during a coffee break. Let's be direct. You don't need expensive apps or hours in front of a screen to train your mind. Sometimes 5 minutes a day is enough. Yes, 5 minutes. Try this challenge. Count from 100 down to 0, but by threes. 100, 97, 94. Sounds easy? Try it. You'll realize it requires focus, mental control, and a real activation of working memory. Another powerful exercise: name 10 fruits starting with the letter M, or 10 animals starting with the letter C. Try it right now. These small challenges are not trivial. They activate specific areas of the brain responsible for memory, reasoning, and language. And the best part? They're free, they're always with you. In the supermarket line, while waiting for water to boil, before bed. When you repeat these stimuli daily, your brain responds. It becomes more agile, more prepared to store new information, and, most importantly, more resistant to the effects of time. Now think, how often do you reach for a calculator for a simple sum, or open GPS for a route you already know? These technological shortcuts are convenient, but every time you outsource a task to your phone, you're failing to exercise a part of your brain. Stop and reflect. Is your brain being stimulated, or just passively carried by machines? Try doing calculations in your head again. Calculate change at the supermarket. Estimate travel time without looking at your phone. Memorize your grocery list before leaving home. It seems small, but this effort generates something precious. Cognitive reserve. Think of it as brain savings. The more connections you build now, the more protection you'll have in the future, especially against neurodegenerative diseases. And here's a challenge. Use your non-dominant hand for simple tasks for an entire day. Brush your teeth, open doors, use your phone. This forces your brain out of autopilot, requiring more attention and activating normally dormant regions. Another challenge? Change your usual route when coming home, even if it takes 2 extra minutes. These are small changes, but they create profound effects. Remember, keeping your mind active is a daily choice. A provocative conversation, a word game, a new curiosity. All of this is food for the brain, and the more you challenge it, the younger it stays. I'll tell you a secret now that almost no one practices. There's a brain exercise as powerful as any math challenge, as effective as the best supplements, and yet most people ignore it. It costs nothing, it requires no technology, and it can completely transform your memory, your mood, your vitality. I'm talking about human connection, the simple act of talking, of laughing with someone, of learning something new in a group. Yes, the brain also feeds on people. When you isolate yourself, something silent happens inside. Neural connections begin to slowly fade. It's as if without external stimulation, your brain loses its reason to keep creating. And this is dangerous. Social isolation, today, is considered one of the biggest risk factors for cognitive decline in old age, as serious as a poor diet or lack of physical exercise. But there's a solution, and it lies in reconnecting with what makes us human, experiencing new things with other people, learning something new, a language, a musical instrument, a different hobby, requires the brain to reorganize, adapt, and create alternative pathways. And when this learning happens with others, in social settings, the effect is even more powerful. You create memory, emotion, and language all at the same time. It's like turning on several lights inside your mind at once. It's never too late to learn. It's never too early to start over. A gardening class, a reading group, a board game with the grandkids, a conversation circle. Each of these experiences stimulates brain areas directly linked to memory, language, and logical reasoning. And more than that, they generate joy. And joy, in turn, is a natural antidote to depression, which is also an enemy of memory. There's a misconception that as years go by, we should slow down. But what the brain needs is precisely the opposite, to be challenged, surprised, provoked. With each new experience, it responds like a child learning to walk, with enthusiasm, fear, and then with firmness. Don't underestimate the power of a good conversation, of a compliment, of teaching someone something, of listening to new music, visiting a new place, trying a different food. These gestures, though simple, create new pathways within your mind. And the more pathways you have, the harder it will be to lose yourself. Because the truth is this, you don't have to accept forgetfulness as destiny. You can choose renewal every day, starting with a yes to something new. What if I told you there's an invisible cleanup that saves your memory? Few people know it, but while you sleep, your brain is in full operation. Yes, even when your body rests, a real operation is happening inside your head. Neurons communicate, information is reorganized, toxins accumulated throughout the day are removed. It's at this moment that memory is consolidated, that what you've experienced turns into lasting learning. Ignoring sleep is like interrupting a cleanup halfway through and then complaining about the mess. Have you ever felt confused, forgetful, or slower after a bad night's sleep? Well, know this, it's not just your imagination. Sleep deprivation, even mild, impairs concentration, affects attention, and directly sabotages the ability to store new information. And the worst part, this wear and tear is cumulative. At first it just seems like tiredness. Then it turns into constant blanking out, and if ignored it can open the door to serious illnesses. That's why establishing a sleep routine isn't a luxury. It's basic care, as important as eating well or drinking water. Sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, respecting a regular bedtime and wake-up time can be the difference between an alert mind and a scrambled mind. It's not just about the number of hours, but the quality of sleep. It's in the deep phases, especially REM sleep, that the brain does its most delicate work, archiving memories, strengthening connections and reorganizing thoughts. Try to remember the last time you slept deeply, without interruptions. without waking up tired. That's rarer than it should be. And one of the big culprits is in our hands, the cell phone screen. The blue light emitted by electronic devices confuses the brain, reduces melatonin production, and delays the onset of sleep. The consequence? Shallow, fragmented, insufficient rest. Your brain needs silence, it needs darkness, it needs rituals. A warm bath, light reading, deep breathing before bed. Avoid caffeine after mid-afternoon. Reduce alcohol consumption. Keep your room cool, clean, and as dark as possible. These simple measures create a favorable environment for your body to understand. It's time to shut down. And when it understands that, it works for you. During deep sleep, a system called the glymphatic system is activated. It works like a brain vacuum cleaner, removing waste and toxic proteins, like beta amyloid, which, when accumulated, are strongly linked to Alzheimer's. It's a true brainwash, only natural and essential. Sleeping well isn't laziness, it's a survival strategy. It's protection, it's self-care. Those who sleep well remember better, live better, feel better, because sleep, ultimately, is the most powerful and silent restorer of the mind. What if I told you there's a secret button that cleans your brain while you sleep? Do you believe it? Imagine there's a button that, when activated, cleans your brain every night. It removes toxic waste, organizes your memories, strengthens your mental connections, and recharges your energy. This button exists, and it's called sleep hygiene. But most people never learn to press it. Many people lie in bed expecting to fall asleep, as if their body will automatically switch off like a light switch. But the brain doesn't work that way. It needs signals, it needs an environment, it needs rituals. And when these conditions are respected, it understands, now it's time to stop and restore. The first rule of sleep hygiene is simple but powerful. Respect your biological clock. Try to go to sleep and wake up at the same times every day, even on weekends. This helps your body synchronize its natural wake-sleep cycles, called circadian rhythm. When this rhythm is in order, you fall asleep faster, enter deep sleep phases more easily, and wake up feeling more refreshed. Next, look at your sleeping environment. Is it dark enough? Quiet? Cool? Lighting, especially the blue light emitted by cell phones, tablets, and televisions, delays the production of melatonin, the hormone that induces sleep. Therefore, turn off screens at least an hour before bed, and swap artificial light for a low yellowish light which signals to the brain that night has arrived. Create rituals. A warm bath, for example, reduces body temperature right afterward, making it easier to fall asleep. Or a peaceful reading, away from news or stressful content. Soft music, light breathing exercises, even a guided meditation. These practices aren't overkill, they're tools that prepare your body and mind to shut down. Calmly, without rush, without anxiety. Also, avoid stimulants. Caffeine, present in coffee, black tea, sodas, and even chocolate, can stay in your system for hours, even after the awake effect seems to have worn off. And alcohol, contrary to what many believe, doesn't help you sleep better. It might make you drowsy at first, but it deeply impairs the most important phases of rest, leaving sleep light, fragmented and unrefreshing. And finally, understand the value of this process. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system is activated. It's like the brain's sewage plumbing. It removes waste, toxins, and misfolded proteins. And it's precisely the failure in this system that scientists believe is related to the accumulation of beta amyloid, one of the main markers of Alzheimer's. In other words, every poorly slept night is a night without a cleanup, and accumulated waste over time takes a heavy toll. You can have the best diet. You can do the best mental exercises, but if you don't sleep well, all of that will be sabotaged. Sleep is the invisible foundation of your mental health, and the most incredible part? It's in your hands. You can transform your nights and with them, your days. You just need to learn to prepare the ground for the right rest. A rest that restores, a rest that protects, a rest that takes care of who you are. I'm going to show you the subtle signs you should never ignore now. Forgetting an acquaintance's name, misplacing your keys, walking into a room and forgetting why. All of this can be normal. These are lapses that are part of anyone's routine, especially as years go by. But there's a fine line, almost invisible, between what's just common forgetfulness and what might be the beginning of something more serious. Knowing how to recognize this difference can be the key to protecting your autonomy, your health, and even your life. And this is where most people go wrong. Because the first signs aren't alarming. They come silently. They blend into routine, they go unnoticed even by close family members. But the brain is already screaming for help. Pay attention. If you or someone close to you has started having difficulty performing simple tasks that were once easy, that's a sign. We're not talking about forgetting an ingredient in a recipe, but about not being able to follow the recipe as a whole anymore, or getting confused when paying bills, driving a familiar route, or organizing household finances. These tasks depend on working memory, reasoning, and attention. When they start to fail repeatedly, something has changed. Another sign is disorientation in time and space, frequently forgetting the day of the week, not remembering what month it is, or even getting lost in familiar places without knowing how you got there. These lapses aren't just distractions. They are indications that the mind might be disconnecting from reality. Language is also a compass. Difficulty finding words, mixing up names of objects, repeating the same phrases, or getting lost in a conversation are subtle but very significant signs. The person starts to seem confused, but deep down, it's the brain struggling to express itself. There are also more discrete behaviors, like putting objects in unusual places and not remembering how they got there, like keys in the refrigerator or the cell phone inside the towel cabinet. It's not just inattention, it's a failure in the recent memory circuit. And perhaps the most delicate, unexplained mood and personality changes. That calm person who easily gets irritated, the talkative relative who becomes silent, or someone who becomes apathetic, suspicious, or even aggressive without explanation. When the brain starts to lose control over memory, it can also affect behavior. And the emotional suffering this causes, both for the person experiencing it and for their caregiver, is immense. Attention. One or two of these signs don't necessarily mean a serious illness, but they are a warning, a request to look more carefully, and, most importantly, an invitation to act early. Because the sooner a problem is identified, the more chances there are to slow it down, treat it, or even reverse it. Denying or ignoring these signs is the biggest mistake. Many wait to seek help when symptoms are already advanced, when losses are too visible, when suffering becomes inevitable. But you don't have to follow that path. You can start now, and you can help those you love do the same. And when forgetfulness goes beyond normal, and what to do in time. That's what I'll explain to you now. Everyone forgets, even the youngest. A name that won't come to mind, an appointment that slipped from the schedule, that doubt about whether or not you turned off the stove. Occasional forgetfulness is part of life, and yes, it can become more frequent with age. This is natural. It's the brain saving energy, adjusting its priorities. But there comes a time when the frequency, intensity, and impact of these forgetfulness instances stop being simple distractions and become signs of something bigger. The line between normal and concerning is often subtle, but it exists. Normal forgetfulness doesn't affect your independence. You forget where you left your keys, but then you find them. You forget someone's name, but remember it after a while. You forget what you were going to do in the kitchen, but quickly recall it. All of this is within expectations. The red alert, however, goes off when forgetfulness starts to interfere with daily activities. When you or someone close to you forgets information they just heard, repeats the same stories without realizing it, gets lost in simple conversations, or doesn't recognize people and places that should be familiar. This is not normal. This requires attention, and it needs to be investigated as soon as possible. Another important warning sign: when the person doesn't realize they're forgetting. This is a crucial point. When forgetfulness happens, but the person experiencing it insists that everything is fine, it's all in your head, or responds with irritation or indifference, it's time to observe more carefully. The brain may already be undergoing changes that affect even the perception of reality. But here's the most important point. Seeking medical help is not an end. It's a beginning. Early diagnosis can make all the difference. There are treatments, therapies, supplements, exercises, and strategies that, if started at the right time, can slow down progression, improve quality of life, and in many cases, recover some of the lost cognitive function. Waiting, ignoring, or hiding the problem only makes everything harder later. Therefore, if you recognized yourself in some of the signs we mentioned, or noticed them in someone dear to you, don't hesitate. Seek a gerontologist, a neurologist, or a trusted general practitioner. Request a complete evaluation. Get tests done. Talk to specialists. And above all, involve the family. Memory is a serious matter, and the sooner it's taken care of, the more future you gain. Remember, aging with clarity. Independence and presence is not an unattainable dream. It's a right. But like all rights, it requires action, and that action begins with careful observation, with sincere listening, with the courage to ask, is what I'm feeling normal? And if it's not, that's okay, because now you know what to do. Because now, your mind is your greatest treasure. Protect it like you protect your life. Now that you've made it this far, you know, preserving memory, even after 60, 70, or 80 years old, isn't a mystery. And certainly not a miracle. It's a commitment, a silent pact between you and your mind. A pact made every day on the plate you prepare, in the glass of water you choose to drink, in the sleep you decide to respect, in the mental challenges you bravely accept, and especially in how you choose to take care of yourself. The truth is that aging doesn't have to be synonymous with forgetfulness, confusion, or loss of identity. Aging can also mean clarity, presence, lucidity. It can be the most conscious and meaningful phase of life, as long as you take care of your mind with the same affection you care for your heart, bones, and skin. Today, you learned how neuroprotective nutrition can build an invisible fortress within your brain. You learned that drinking more water can be more important than any medicine. That fasting, when well guided, can literally rejuvenate your brain connections. That mental exercises, even the simplest ones, are worth more than any expensive app. And that sleeping well is much more than resting. It's giving your brain the chance to heal every night. You also learned that not all forgetfulness is normal, that there are silent signs that need to be heard, and that acting early can change everything. So from now on, what will you do with this knowledge? If this content touched you in any way, if it gave you hope, clarity, or motivation to change, leave your like right now. This helps the video reach other people who, like you, might be scared, or lost, or needing a path. Share it with those you love, with that aunt who's starting to forget things, with your dad, your mum, your partner. Send it in the family group chat. Let's create a community together that talks openly about brain health without taboo, without fear, and with truth and acceptance. And of course, subscribe now to the Longevidade Ativa channel. Here you'll find content like this, real, transformative, and designed for those who want to live longer and live better. Because it's not enough to add years to life. What we really want is to add life to the years. And tell me in the comments, which of these strategies did you already know? Which one will you start applying today? And what else worries you when it comes to memory and aging? Your voice here matters. Your experience can inspire someone, and your action can be the first step towards a new chapter in your story.